as a veteran, small business owner, what can we do for you?
What we can all do for all veteran business owners is promote each other.
My main mission was to look at tools of technology to leverage small business and give them more of a competitive advantage.
My mission for Veteran Bargains is very simple: to help vets.
That story in itself, to run for Vista City Council, is a journey.
I think this is an opportunity to really collaborate with those gone before us.
It's really kind of a labor of love.
And now your host.
We could not have the support and listenership that we do. So with that, please hit that subscribe button or share this broadcast out. We definitely appreciate the support. And make sure that you thank a veteran today when you're out there in the community or you're on a different type of a meeting or wherever you happen to be. Just remember to thank our veterans. And we do want to thank our sponsor today, which, and let me grab that real quick. It is PIMLAR. So I want to give a shout out to our sponsors today, PIMLAR, and we'll hear a little bit more about them in just a little bit. Right now, what I would like to do is introduce our guests for the show today. And today we actually have two guests, and I met with them a little bit earlier, and I'm really excited for our audience to meet them. We have Brett Cooper, and we also have Evans Kerrigan. And a little bit about them, Brett and Evans help professionals like you build relationships that really work. Over the last 20 years, they've influenced thousands of people in government, nonprofits, and corporate America to work together in more productive, more effective, and more human ways. Evans is an Air Force veteran. We thank you for your service, Evans. We talked a little bit about that, and we'll hear more about that in just a bit. Is a volunteer coordinator for annual stand down programs in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we'll also hear about that a little bit later. You can take with the guests that we have today, they have a really cool emotional intelligence survey, and I took this just yesterday, and I was really just blown away by how it worked. And we'll give you the link for that as well. So that'll be forthcoming. And before we bring on our guests today, I have a special announcement for an event that we're going to be doing on March 25th with the Inland Empire Orange County chapter, which is the leadership meeting that we hold every month. And this month, we have an amazing presenter. It's on the magic of big branding, and his name is Jerry Foster. It's March 25th, and we meet at 12:30, and we'll have the link available for you so that you can participate. It's free to join, and he is just an amazing speaker. So you're going to get a lot of value, especially if you're looking to brand your company or if you're just getting started. So hopefully you'll join us for the leadership meeting. Our topic today is solving the people problem. Let's build relationships that really work. And it's important because building relationships brings collaboration and opportunity. And right now, I would love to bring on our guests, Brett and Evans. And are they there?
Hi there, Shelley.
Hello there. How?
Hi, great to see you today. There we go.
Great to see you. All right. And I do want to give you a shout out, Evans. Thank you again for your service. We salute you and we appreciate your family and all that you do. And the story that you shared a little bit ago about your father, and we'll maybe talk about that a little bit as well. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Shelley.
And Brett, we're happy to have you as well. And we know that you do some work for our veterans as well. And we're going to hear about that. What I'd like to start with is you two recently wrote a great book about the essential skills people need to lead and succeed in today's workplace. And we'll get into those ideas shortly. But first, I want to talk about the deep connection you two have with the veteran community.
Excellent.
So who'd like to go?
Yeah, I can chime in and
great.
start here, Shelley. One of the things that we were talking about a little bit before the show is the connection I have to the stand down programs here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I know down there in San Diego, you guys have a huge stand down program. Ours don't, they're not quite that big, but we are able to serve between 200 and 500 homeless, near homeless vets every year with our annual program. It's a fantastic program.
That's
for anybody
amazing.
who doesn't know, we actually collectively, there are these stand down programs that go on across the country. Unfortunately, most of them aren't happening right now because of COVID, but typically what these are 1 to, in some cases, what we do 4-day events where we bring in homeless and near homeless veterans from the community and offer them all kinds of services, legal help, medical help, clothing, just support. The events that I help coordinate, which are called Stand Down on the Delta and East Bay Stand Down. They're 4-day events, and we bring these 200 to 400 people in, and we live in these tents. We basically build a whole community for 4 days, and it's a fantastic time, and it's really addressing this pretty important issue. You know, we have almost 40,000 homeless veterans on any given night in the United States, and that just should not be.
No,
And
not at all.
These stand down programs are a little way that we're able to get back to that. So I'd say for everybody who's listening, whether you're in San Diego or anywhere around the country, find your local stand down programs and contribute. There's all kinds of ways to volunteer and donate. It's a fantastic program.
Wow. No, thank you for doing that work. One of the things that an initiative that we have with our chamber is Housing for Heroes. And, we are, especially with our executive director, he's very passionate about making sure that our veterans have the resources and the basic needs that they need to have. So including, home ownership or being able to rent or be off the streets. So
absolutely.
I would really like to find out. So the work that the two of you do, I took the test and I was like, oh my goodness, it was very enlightening for me, especially as a CEO of my own company. With the value of emotional intelligence, tell us a little bit about that. What is the value of emotional intelligence?
Sure. So I'll take that one.
Evan's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I want to get my words in here quickly.
Yeah.
So emotional intelligence is a field that's been talked about. Actually, you could go way back in history, but really the last 30 or 40 years, there's been a lot of research about it. And why it's so important for us to think about is a lot of the research actually finds that our emotional intelligence is twice as impactful on our long-term career success as either our IQ, which most of us are familiar with, or even our technical skills. It's our ability to actually work with others that really helps us. So where we can help people better understand and appreciate and really even honor the differences that we have as people in a way that lets us fully contribute, that's the stuff that really makes for success for ourselves, but also really impacts leadership. And so there's a big tie for emotional intelligence and leadership. And part of how we came to this is in a lot of the work we were doing with organizations, we get pulled in when they were technically competent, but they were starting to cause a lot of damage in the organization.
Yeah.
And that emotional intelligence is just such a critical factor. And it's got a couple of differences from IQ that I think are really important for people to know. IQ is kind of set at birth. You can change it a little bit. You can't do a whole lot about that. Somebody told me the best way to improve your IQ is actually choose your parents differently. Well, that doesn't really help. That's not really usable. EQ is not like that. EQ is really malleable. We can get better at this over time. So it's both more important and it's something I can actually take action on to become better at. So hugely impactful.
Very, very impactful. And thank you for sharing that, because this is a topic that I love, because I grew up in the corporate industry and we did a lot of different, tests and, the Gallup. And I mean, there's so many out there that talk about the emotional intelligence and just, how people interact with one another. And I think it's important, especially in a corporation, where teams are coming together and, there are always those folks out there that, they're difficult to deal with, or, they're, how do the two of you, and Brett, I'll kind of position this question to you. Tell us about the work that both you and Evans do for companies and, just solopreneurs out there, or professionals.
Sure. Well, we basically classify ourselves as organizational health consultants. And what that means is that we will work with organizations, everything from really mom and pop shops. We have some clients that have 15, 20 people, and we work with a lot of big multinationals as well.
Yeah.
And as Evans was saying a little bit earlier, the kind of work that we do is really driven around helping leaders and teams work together more effectively. Our background, actually, Evans and I met 20 years ago. We were working for another.
How the two of you came together. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we were working for another organization where we were doing what's called Lean Six Sigma consulting. And Lean Six Sigma is a fancy way of saying it's process improvement. It's a set of tools that allows you to go in and look at processes and say, hey, what's working, what's not working, what is delivering value to customers, what is just taking too much time. And we were doing that kind of work. As a matter of fact, when we first started working with VA medical centers around the country, we were helping them with some of that work. They had a big national program called Systems Redesign. And so we were one of the consultants that was helping them with their systems redesign program. But what we found when we were doing that work is that although we were doing the hard skills of process understanding and process analysis, what got in the way more often than anything else was people not being able to communicate well with each other, right? People not getting along, or people not understanding each other. And in fact, when we were writing this book, one of the studies that we cited in the book that just really drives what we do today, we came across a study about conflict in the workplace. And this study found that 62% of employees blame the conflict they experience at work on personality differences. So those clashes between personality. And everything that we stand for and what we help individuals and teams kind of understand is, hey, the problem isn't that these personality differences exist. The problem is that you don't understand them and you don't honor them. Because ultimately, we want people of all kinds of different perspectives, personality styles, points of view. We want them on our team, and we want to find ways that we can communicate real effectively, even with people that kind of see the world differently than we do.
Yeah.
And if we can do that on teams, what we find happens in organizations is clients get better service, employees have better lives, and the business is more efficient. So it serves employees, it serves customers, and it serves the stakeholders of the business. So it's a win-win all the way around.
Right. And it's all in one, where, I would imagine that you could go into a corporation, both you and Evans, and it's deep work, because you're working with people's, their livelihoods, you're working with their, all of their experience, and now, they're being put to the test. With the book that you both wrote, let's talk about that a little bit, because I believe it just launched last year, correct? In 2020?
Yeah, September 29th of 2020.
Wow, September 29th, during a pandemic, by the way.
Which actually turned out to be great timing. If you think about it, so many people had been kind of in the middle of the pandemic, and relationships were getting difficult for people. So I think it came at a good time for a lot of people to start to actually ask those questions about what can we do to make this better.
No, I agree. I think that, the company that I have, we have a couple of clients that launched books during the pandemic. And what do you feel is the silver lining? Launching the book and having the pandemic, but the silver lining and I'll throw it to each of you. So, maybe Brett, you can answer first, but what was the silver lining for you during the pandemic with your company?
Well, one of the things for the silver lining is we were both with the book and with some of the services, we've been able to have further reach with people. Prior to the pandemic, most of the time that Evans and I were spending was on planes, going to different locales and working with individual teams, giving presentations at conferences or working with individual executive teams or work groups. And that's great work. We can do a lot of deep work that way. But one of the things that really came out of the pandemic was we had to look at our business and say, how are we going to keep things alive and in fact, invigorate what we do and further our reach. And we've been able to do that by moving so much of what we do to virtual. So now we do, we do virtual conferences over Zoom. We do virtual team meetings, and we use Zoom to do that. And then, of course, the book allows us to get out to a whole lot more people than we were reaching before then. So.
Well, and you could speak really anywhere in the world a couple of times a day, right? Where before we couldn't do that.
Yeah. That's very true.
And how about you, Evans? What's been the silver lining for you?
Well, I'll go with the business silver lining, but also a personal silver lining. So,
okay.
So for the business, I think it's been really impactful in that we had a lot of leaders that we worked with who part of their leadership or part of what they perceived as their leadership was their presence, their ability to look over somebody's shoulders or to be there. When that was removed, this has enabled us to talk with people in a little bit different way about how we lead as humans, how we build that relationship that enables us to be successful at helping others achieve even greater things. So I think in some ways the pandemic has made people kind of take a step back and understand a little bit about what it really takes to build great relationship. And it's not the fact that I sit in the cube 2 cubes away from you. It's the fact that we actually have real discussions about what's important to us. And then on a personal basis, I think this year, one of the big things that's really come out of this last year is I think my wife is much less afraid of when I eventually retire. So
being in the house 24/7, right?
Yeah, I think with the travel I'd done over the years, I think she was really like, boy, if he ever retires, what am I going to do? But actually, we have found that, you know what? There's a reason we've been married coming up on 39 years. And
congratulations.
Thank you. So we actually do like each other. So it's been wonderful.
Oh, that's great to hear. And thank you both for sharing. And I just want to do a recap real quick for our audience. Thank you so much for tuning in. We were every Friday on the Veterans Chamber Radio Show. And today we're talking with Brett and Evans. And I mean, they just have so much to share. And we're going to get a little more into that. I would like to thank our sponsor, Pimlar. And they're putting some information up on the screen here. And they basically are, as far as the services that they offer, financial investigations, theft, embezzlement, and money laundering investigations, insurance defense, negotiations. So they have quite an array of different services that they offer. And we really want to thank our sponsors, Pimlar, for Pimlar Solutions, for just the great work that they're doing and for sponsoring our show today. So thank you so much, Pimlar Solutions. And we're going to come back to Brett and Evans. And, again, gentlemen, it's wonderful talking with you because, again, this is emotional intelligence is one of my favorite topics to cover. In terms of, just the fact that you're doing this work, what do you both feel is the differentiator? And I'll have both of you answer this. What is the differentiator compared to your competitors that your company offers that maybe the others don't? Or what is that differentiator factor for you?
Well, Shelley, I'll start with that, and I'll
Okay.
say that we're actually really fortunate to be in an industry where there are some great providers. There really are a lot of great people, dedicated people, and organizations that are doing really good work related to helping organizations thrive and helping employees thrive. So
Yeah.
when we look at the competition, we tend not to look at it quite so much from a we win when they lose kind of thing, but more that we are all part of this army that is trying to build a better workplace for everybody. All
That's
that being all that being said, we definitely do have some differentiators that set us apart. And the primary thing really kind of comes back to the book. And what we did in solving the people problem when we wrote the book is we looked at what are some of the frameworks, some of the models, some of the ideas that have been around for a while that people have been using, but perhaps maybe haven't been using as effectively as possible. So the way I would highlight our differentiation is that we are aggregators of really good ideas, and we help our clients put those to use in a very practical way. We are authors now, but we are not academics. We cite a lot of studies in the book, but I think Evans and I both, the part of the book that we most appreciate are the stories that are heartfelt and they're practical. So whenever we do any work with a client, we are always focused on that practical. How can we help you as an individual or as a team get better? And I think that's something that we're able to do by again looking at various models and tools that are out there and helping the client kind of realize which of these is the best thing that you could use right now.
Yes. Yeah. And I love that you have that, that approach of, it's not whether, you win, the others lose. It's there's so much work out there for all of us. Definitely. And how about you, Evans? What do you feel is the differentiator?
Well, I think Brett actually captured several of them really well. I'll just hit on just a couple other things that I think actually really matter here. We came at this in a little bit different approach than many other people who do this type of work did. We came at this because we were doing the hard work or the hard skills around helping organizations change their processes, change all those. So we come at it from a very practical perspective. It's not about increasing your emotional intelligence because it's nice. It's actually because we can show it works. We can show the results that we get out of that and what you can actually accomplish. And I think one of the other things that I think we definitely have always kind of had as part of our makeup is just an enormous belief in what people can do if they can kind of take it on. So that idea around, the title of our book is Solving the People Problem. We do not believe people are a problem in any way, shape, or form. We believe that there's a problem in how we communicate with one another. But people are wonderful and people are incredible, and the possibilities of what they can do, if we can help them improve their communication a little bit better, help them improve how they interact with one another, the sky is the limit. And there are so many challenges out there in the world. We need more people doing this kind of work because that's how we get the big challenges addressed, is a lot of people being able to work together more and more effectively and efficiently.
Yeah. And I'm sure during this pandemic, when you start to think that there's a lot of remote teams that are working independently, when they do come in and they work in the office, everybody's wearing a mask and, talk about communication. I mean, people don't know if you're smiling or, so it could be problematic, but in the same token, having, someone like both you and Brett to be able to provide that kind of work, it just makes it so much better, and like you said, just all the teams, that you'd love to be able to support and help across the country, because now with, Zoom and all these other, opportunities to connect with your clients.
And Shelley, if I can just add, that was one of the beauties of when we were able to put the book out, actually, because there are so many teams like you just mentioned. There are leaders that their entire framework, their entire paradigm of how do they lead, how do they get their team to work together more effectively, that's been blown up by not being in the office. And the ideas that we scoped out in the book, they're focused on exactly how do you overcome that. So the timing of putting the book out there, and the tools that are associated with the book, like the emotional intelligence survey that you took, which we make available to your listeners, these are tools that, if there wasn't a pandemic, I think the book would have done really well. But I think it's doing even more well now because leaders are in such need of ideas of how do we get our team more engaged so we can work together more effectively.
Oh, that's awesome. And, right now, what we're going to do, we're actually going to bring our executive director with the National Veterans Chamber of Commerce, Joseph Molina, onto the screen. And he'd like to say hello to our audience and to both of you.
Thank you, Shelley.
There's
Thank
Joe.
you both for such a great information. And you're totally right. What you guys do is amazing. Because in the workplace, I mean, a hammer is a hammer. It's not going to talk back. But having the communication skills to work alongside and de-escalate conflict and all those issues within the workplace is totally imperative, especially now with this pressure on how we are dealing with situations under COVID. So I just wanted to thank you for participating and for sharing your information with us. And we look forward to having you again sometime and to share your developments on your book and also your consulting services.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe. As we were talking before the show, you and I first started talking right when the book was coming out. We connected on LinkedIn, and I shared the copy of the book, and that's when you said, "Hey, why don't you come over here on the radio show?"
Absolutely, I totally value information. So hopefully, you'll get a lot of this segment, and we'll be able to collaborate with you and partner with you guys in your journey. Always happy to have you. And thank you, Shelley.
Thank you, Joe. We appreciate you and all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And we actually had a question come through, and I know, let's see, as far as the question, let's see.
I think I see one there saying, who would we not be able to help?
Oh,
so I'll be happy to take that one.
Thank you for catching that, Evans.
Yeah, it's the material that we use, in the way in which we work with people. I don't think there's anybody that we could not help. I will say there are people who are going to be a little bit more challenging, a little bit more difficult to reach. Building your own emotional intelligence, kind of the first element that we talk about is actually kind of your self-awareness, right? Being able to actually see how you're impacting the world around you. We talk about kind of knowing your style, right? We all have a little bit of a style. So the people who struggle to actually make progress are the ones who really have difficulty being able to see their own style, see how they're coming across, how they're impacting the world around them. And so that can be a challenge but we have tools and ways to help people understand that, to get another perspective, a picture of how they're impacting the world. And that tends to really kind of free some things up. At one point when we were writing the book, we actually had a different subtitle for this book. We actually said, it was solving the people problem, but the subtitle was, and you're the problem.
Oh,
because it does start with that self-awareness, right? I can't I can't make communication work better unless I look at what I can change about my communication. Communication doesn't get better by hoping everybody else will get better. So what I would say is we can help anybody, but they have to be willing to be part of the game.
Yeah, that's a great point, because they do have to be willing. Yeah, especially to do that type of work and kind of admit that, hey, I do need to, make some changes in my emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Well,
they don't always.
go ahead.
They don't always start there. Some of them are sent, but you've got to get them to where they can actually accept that. Yeah, there's something I've got to do with this. Once that's done, everything else becomes actually pretty easy.
Oh, and I would imagine working with both of you, it's, you have client satisfaction definitely because of just your disposition and your personalities. So, thank you so much for being on the show today. We're out of time, and at this point, we want to thank our audience for tuning in on YouTube and Amazon and all the different platforms with the Veterans Chamber Radio Show. Today, we had Brett with us and also Evans. We will have all the links to be able to get a hold of them. But real quick, maybe we can have you give your website. Could we have you give your website real quick, one of you?
Yeah, absolutely. The website lines up with the book really well. It's solvingthepeopleproblem.com. And Shelley, what we want to invite everybody who's listening to do is to take that emotional intelligence survey that you took yesterday.
Yes,
we're making it free for everybody who's listening here to Veterans Radio, whether you're listening to the live broadcast or the follow-up. All you have to do is go to solvingthepeopleproblem.com and look for the link that says, what's my DISC EQ? If you click that link, what's my DISC EQ, you'll come to the survey page and you enter access code veteran. And then you'll get right into the survey. The survey takes most people about 5, maybe 10 minutes to do.
Yeah, it goes really fast, but it really makes you think too. It does.
Yeah, and as you saw, you get a personalized report that not only gives you kind of a score of where you are with your emotional intelligence, but more importantly, it gives you some very practical tips of what you can do right now to take yourself to the next level. So I encourage everybody, go to solvingthepeopleproblem.com and look for that What's My DISC EQ link.
Perfect. I love it. And it's a great survey. Again, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. And to our followers, listeners, and viewers, we're here every Friday at 1:00. So please, tune in every Friday, share out the show. And until next time, thank you so much for those that have served. And we want to commend you and salute you for your service. And Evans, knowing that you were also you're also a veteran, we salute you. So thank you. And everyone have a wonderful day.